you're supposed to open these things with a quote. And I looked on Google and ChatGPT for various, what would sound academic and meaningful and maybe Greek-sounding quotes. But the one I came up with, which will make more sense at the end of this, was from a quote from a very, very esteemed colleague of mine, Mr. Jim Kellner. There we go. And that quote is this: when you leave your hotel room, you check that room as if there is $100 hidden somewhere in that room. He told me that, and it makes a lot of sense. But it'll make a lot of sense at the end of this. Now, for those of you that don't know, my name is Grant Saunders. Dan gave a fantastic build-up of who I am and what I do. I'm a stage hypnotist, and some of you may have noticed I'm from that there, England, the capital of the universe. Here's the thing. Hypnosis has never been kind of more recognized within the medical and the science community with such things like, you know, neuroimaging. I remember those cool things. Was it Tom Silver that had the EEG machines where you could see the stuff going on? I remember all of this stuff. The science now kind of proves hypnosis is very real. You know, the medical community says it's very real. The psychology community, all of it has this kind of founding that hypnosis is very, very real. But yet in the wider world, to the general population, we're all still magicians or woo-woos and witch doctors and some strangeness. And it's so bizarre that despite all of those advancements in science and technology and everything, the world still kind of looks at us as a bit kind of on the fringe and a bit weird. And so it made me wonder, like, what's the problem with that? What's caused that issue? And I think some people might say that hypnosis, not just stage hypnosis, not just hypnotherapy, but hypnosis has a marketing problem. You know, the serious communities understand us, but the general population, the rest of the world, they kind of still look at us as being a bit weird. So that's a marketing issue. And then when I had a look at, you know, as co-founder of the Performing Hypnosis Summit, when I have a look at some of the headshots that people send in for those talks, I understand why. Now, as a performing hypnotist myself, I know this. My original headshots, I looked like a predator. I used to have this little goatee thing that just, I thought, made me look mysterious and magical. And so sometimes we have that image that we put out there that is a bit strange. And that's what a lot of people see. So as professionals, I think we do have like a kind of responsibility. And Dan's done a great job. There's been headshots being taken over the weekend of like actually looking a bit more professional, aesthetically, to the rest of the world, not just our other colleagues as well. Now, looking professional does not mean a suit and tie. It means just looking the best that you can possibly do. So those of you that are speakers, and there's a lot of you here, make sure those headshots are on point because they're the thing that sell you. And when I say on point, that means, you know, within the last 10 years at least, you know, with the advancements of AI and all of that technology, it's so easy for people to take a amateur shot, run it through some software, and out comes the other end, something that makes, well, both me and Jim class ourselves as fitness models now. But again, that kind of perpetuates this kind of negative image that when people see this false image that we put forward, the reality of what turns up for the show or to their treatment room or for the podcast is something very different. So this, again, kind of reinforces that image that we've got. Now, when I talk about the tools that we do, like AI, you know, this conference is brilliant because it talks about the future of hypnosis. And a lot of people are like AI now is like the massive buzzword. It's amazing. You know, there's great tools out there to market ourselves as hypnotists. Live streaming, I'm a big advocate for that. One of the best ways of creating a connection with an audience after speaking on stage. Video, like literally, like as a child, if someone said to me, I could have my own TV channel where I was both the actor, producer, director, I could be in charge of everything and have whatever I wanted, I thought that would be amazing. Now we all have access to that on YouTube. But yet only some of us utilize that. Tools like AI, people kind of went, do you know what, this is going to revolutionize it. I remember, I'll tell a story about AI in a minute about me and Jim, but I remember when I first discovered it, it was like, oh my God, this is going to transform my business overnight. Somebody mentioned the other day here about what's going to happen when everyone's putting out the same content that's AI generated. Here's the reality. ChatGPT has been around for quite some time now. I thought I was going to see a tsunami of ChatGPT created blog posts. All we have to do to create a blog post now for our website is click a button. But yet still people do not create 7 blog posts a day. Some people don't create 1 blog post a month. And all it takes is a click of your mouse. But here's the thing. The people that were producing stuff, the people that were doing stuff, the people that were doing the work before, they're using those tools and they're just growing exponentially. But the rest of us, who we all have access to these tools, but we just don't do it. Why is that? I think the reason why is because we kind of have this fear of putting ourselves forward, a fear of rejection, a fear of, what would happen if I did this and everyone's going to look at me and judge me. And we all have that. No matter what level we're at, we're always looking to grow into the next level. No matter how successful you perceive yourself to be, you could always be better. And we all know as we're sat here now, we put our best front forward to all our esteemed colleagues, but we still know at the back of our minds there's some shit we should be doing that we're not doing for our business. And that's the thing. We have all of these amazing tools now that we can use, but we don't for fear that something could go wrong. I have one story about ChatGPT going wrong for me. Here's another thing. Not only does ChatGPT make things easier, we've now got bots which work with ChatGPT to make life easier. So you can automate the automation of writing your blogs, but still we don't do it. Now my story of that is, I was doing a couple of events, and in the goodie bag for one of these events, a company contacted us because it was a well-being thing and gave us some stuff called Collar Slim. It's an amazing product. You take it, it's a meal replacement, it helps people lose weight. With this being a health and well-being, I thought this would be an amazing free item to go in the goodie bags. Retail value is about $60. 500 people come to this event. That makes me look good that this is being given out. I know this event is going to be talked about. I know social media is going to be a bit of a buzz about it. So I thought I'm going to get one of these bots. I'm going to automate it. Anybody tags my company or this product, then it will respond on my behalf. This is amazing, or so I thought. And so this event's happened on the Saturday. I'm not going back into my office until Monday afternoon because I don't work Monday mornings. So when I got back in, I've looked, and the comments were amazing. There was hundreds and hundreds of comments. And that's because someone had pointed out a very real point, that in this day and age, to have a company, wellness, promoting a negative, positive image, that people have to lose weight to feel good. Somebody posted that on social media. My bot responded, #fire emoji. Yeah, exactly. So then someone's gone, I can't believe you said that. Yo, fantastic. And every response got a automated positive response with either a fire emoji or an applause emoji, and the people went nuts. At the time, I was a little bit annoyed. And I'll be honest, I think I lost 2 clients on the back of it. But here's the thing, here's a mistake. Mistakes happen. I learned something from it. I learned that when you're setting bots up and you're setting AI up and you're setting someone to do the work for you, don't take the lazy option. All these tools can be a lazy option, which is why we love them so much, but you've still got to put in that work in the beginning. You've got to make sure you put in those good prompts. You've got to make sure you don't do #fire emoji when someone's put something negative. The reality is, it didn't cost me my business. Within a week, nobody was talking about it. It was done, it was fine. But we've got those tools. Mistakes will happen. You'll send stuff wrong. And when email first came out, we were sending emails sometimes that we shouldn't have sent. The amount of times we've sent text, there we go. We've sent text messages and pictures to people we shouldn't have done, and we've sent it all. The tools are there, and we've got to use them. So, I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable now. We all have ideas. Most of our ideas go into that kind of graveyard into the top of our head. We think of something, we go, that would be brilliant, and then it goes to the back of our mind, life takes over. Something else happens, something happens with your AI, your partner has an argument with you, the dog's sick, the cat's sick on the carpet, these things happen. That idea then just doesn't become a priority. It goes to the back of your mind. We all have great ideas, but we don't do anything with them most of the time. We have the tools in order to help us do that stuff, but we just don't, because fundamentally, we are lazy people. Hypnosis doesn't have a marketing issue. It has a human condition issue. We've got to be the people to put that stuff out there. We've got to be the people to put in the effort to make sure that we're doing the right job. That when we are creating blog posts, we are putting stuff out there, we're putting in the effort to make sure it's the best that it can be. A little bit about my story. Now, I write down the date because I'm terrible with dates. As a stage hypnotist in the UK, at one point, I'm still quite successful. I do quite well. And a couple of years ago, date precise, February the 10th, 2020, I did that thing that most, especially guys do because we have weird egos, most successful people do when they feel they've got a little bit of success. February the 10th, 2020, bought myself a black Range Rover. Exactly. Yeah. I was that knobhead, you know. That's the car that I kind of put on that pedestal of that's an element of success. I was successful, I had the money coming in, I could sign up to that absolutely ridiculous finance agreement that was going to be a weight around my neck for a long time. 23rd of March 2020, the world went into shutdown. Everything stopped. The world just completely collapsed. For me, I had what was perceived to be the trappings of success. All of the great things that you do that just cost you money. And all of a sudden, that money just stopped. It went from, in my mind, to being, it's going to be okay, it's just over there in China, to contracts cancelling, and cancelling. I think in one weekend, I had about $85,000 worth of shows cancelled. I had no way of paying the mortgage. I had no way of paying for my lifestyle. I had no way of paying for the lovely Range Rover that I had. Shortly after that moment, I was sat in that car, beautiful cream leather interior, by the way. I was sat in that car, really weighing up what options I had available to me. And take from that what you will, but it was a very, very dark moment for me. At that very moment, I got a phone call from a guy called Jason Nobby Morgan. He's known in the UK as Nobbinosis. He's a part-time stage hypnotist and a lovely guy. I've been mentoring him on some shows, and generally when he rang me, it's because he had a bad show and he just wanted to talk through it and I would help him. And I remember looking at it and I thought, I have not got the energy or the resources to deal with this. But I answered it. And Nobby said to me, he went, you've been there whenever I've needed your help. Do you need anything now? And I'm like, dude, I'll be honest, I'm stuck. And we had a chat. And he said, let's do a live stream. Let's just talk about your life as a hypnotist and stuff that you've done. So we agreed we were going to do it. We set this thing up. We were going to go live. Now, I knew live was good because I'd seen Jim do some lives before. And Jim always reminds me that it was live streaming before me. And so we tried to go live, failed, just didn't work. We tried to get another person on, so it's like 2 people doing a live on Facebook at that time was difficult. Couldn't do it. And I remember Jim used this software. Found the software, downloaded it. It's called B.Live. We went live. For me, the dark moment, by the way, was not just a financial thing. The performers in the room will know this. When you're a performer, it's not just the thing that you do. There's something about when you're on stage, that the energy that gives you. And as shallow as it is, to have that applause and people tell you at the end of your keynote that you're amazing. Sorry. To have that applause and to have the energy in the room pushed towards you, it really affects you. And when that's suddenly taken away, that was the thing that was difficult. When I did that first live, it gave me the same nerves, the same energy of when I do a stage show. And I thought, oh, that actually feels good. There's some kind of hope here. The first person I rang after that was Jim. I'm like, Jim, I want to have you on my show. We're going to talk about some stuff. We did a show together. What I realized at that moment is, although I was going through all that stuff, every stage hypnotist in the world was going through exactly the same. And every stage hypnotist in the world was doing exactly the same. Before the pandemic, our egos were massive. We were all solopreneurs. We were out there crusading all by ourselves. Hypnotherapists have a great support network. Stage hypnotists at the time didn't necessarily have that. That gave me a great opportunity. I thought, you know what, shoot for the stars. Let's ring Anthony Gaylor. Hey, dude, I'm doing this live stream about stage hypnosis. Would you like to come on? Absolutely. He came on. Every stage hypnotist, bar 2 in the world that I contacted, jumped at the opportunity to be able to come on and relive those moments. To kind of, you know, in that moment of darkness when everything had gone, to kind of talk about what they did. That transformed my life and my business. It also made me realize that stage hypnotists are all out there by themselves, going through the same troubles, the same tribulations. No one was working together with them. No one was collaborating with them. So from that, me and Jim had a bit of a chat. And I've met Jim, by the way, at the Hypnobiz New York. Now, here's the thing. These conferences, especially like the smaller conferences, are great for meeting new people. We'd known each other online for a bit of time, but I just remember we were in somebody's talk, and I'll not say who it was, quite a prominent person, and they did a demonstration on some stuff, and I remember just turning to this guy at the side of me and going, that's bullshit. I'm like, if that was not created when somebody was drunk, and don't worry, it's a brilliant technique. I'm not taking away from the technique. But the origins, I believe, came from a weird idea that turned into something. It's the opposite of the thousands of ideas we have that go off into the idea graveyard. This was an idea that happened that this person went, I'm going to run with this. So we had a conversation. Jim was also one of the 3 people in my talk at Hypnobiz New York. So thank you for that. And I have tried to be at every one of Jim's talks since then, apart from his talk here. Because Richard Cole was talking. So that conference that happened, we had a bit of a conversation, and what we noticed, and it is massive in this community, the people that it attracts tend to fall, and I'm overgeneralizing, fall into 2 categories. Big egos, small people. The small people want to do good. I want to earn just enough that I can help other people do well. The people with the big egos want to make loads and loads of money. They don't use those resources to promote hypnosis to the general world. They use those resources to make you buy another course. And there's some great courses out there, I'm not taking away from that. But the amount of times, and me and Jim talked about this, that we see people that have done multiple courses and never done a show. Why is that? There must be something failing within that somewhere. And again, through various conversations and Zoom calls and live streams, we came up with the idea of the Performing Hypnosis Summit. Now, this is not a sales plug for the Performing Hypnosis Summit. There's a real reason behind it. And we kind of went, do you know what? We've been doing the lives. All of these hypnotists are all doing this by themselves. What if we get everybody together? What if we could get all of those massive egos in the stage hypnosis world all together on one virtual Zoom thing? And that's what we did. And what was amazing was to see people that hadn't connected with each other for years, that were almost seen as arch enemies, that hadn't spoken because somebody stole somebody's routine in 1972. Which I will say, there's a weirdness to that. One of the things that I got from doing the talks with other hypnotists is there's parts of routines that I had done that I knew were specific to me. I had crafted them, everything about it was perfect, and it was mine. One of the things of the show is I would ask the hypnotists to send in clips of their show that I could promote for them. And I remember on numerous occasions, routines would come through that kind of go, but that's my bit. The little nuance, the thing that makes it mine, other people are doing, because we have that kind of collective consciousness. So we had this thing, let's get everybody together. And we did it, we put on the Performing Hypnosis Summit. Here's what I mean by that. It wasn't 2 years in planning, it wasn't a year in planning. We had an idea. 2 months later, the Performing Hypnosis Summit was put on. Now, I wouldn't advise that, because things don't work right sometimes. But done is always better than perfect. Action will always win. Because the way that we succeed, the way that we do better, is we fail forward. And we failed forward with the Performing Hypnosis Summit. I remember it was probably a week before the actual event, and we still didn't know how we were going to make the format work. How were we going to get multiple rooms and multiple hypnotists speaking at the same time, have a lobby community and all that, without it costing us thousands and thousands of dollars? what we realized is it's going to cost us money. But we didn't know the platform. We put it on. Everything about it worked really well. It had a sense of community. It had a lobby. People said it was the closest to an in-person event you could get online. We were so pleased. Everyone was so excited. I remember the day after the summit, I was going over to Thailand and Vietnam, which sounds lovely. I don't say that as a brag, but I say it as the awkwardness that comes from that. I remember just before I had to go, we had to make sure that everyone that bought the VIP package could get the videos that they paid for. It was at this moment that I realized that the toggle switch to record all recordings had not been switched. Not only that, because I'm traveling and I'm in Thailand at the time, I've got to make this announcement with Jim whilst I'm sat on a luxury beach resort in Thailand, which doesn't look great. It kind of looks like, cheers for the money, guys. I feel for your pain. I'm just on this beautiful sunny beach in Koh Samui. We learned from that, but what did we learn? We learned that we've got to fail forward. And we were open and said, guys, this is what's happened. Mistakes happen. But you know what? It's how you deal with it that matters. So everybody that paid for that has now got everything that they paid as a credit towards tickets to the Performing Hypnosis Summit live in Vegas, which meant we took an absolutely massive financial loss on that. But it's not about making the money. It's about building the community. And that's what this is about. The hypnosis community is a fantastic community that we're all part of. Now, I just checked out the notes. I do go off-piste quite a lot. Yeah, the thing that I believe, conventions that spark inspiration. We all have a brilliance inside of us. When we come to conventions like this, we have conversations around the tables. And it's not that you plan and go, listen, we're going to have a great idea. We're going to do the Performing Hypnosis Summit. We sit down, we have a conversation. Somebody says something, it sparks something in us, and then we then go on this journey of what can we create. That's what me and Jim did. And it's understanding and having that faith in other people. And it's not just about what can we do to make money. It's about the smaller connections as well. Jim said to me a couple of years ago, Grant, met this guy, Dan. He's putting on this conference in Gaylord. 3,000, let me check it so it's right. 3,572 miles away from where you live. It's only going to be small, but I think you'll love it. And I'm like, listen, if it's in Gaylord, I am there. I'm a 10-year-old boy. I spent half a day driving around the town, taking photos in front of every sign that said, welcome Gaylord. And I will say this, it is the most beautiful kind of Americana little town ever. The Treetops Resort, that's where we first met. The Treetops Resort is absolutely stunning. Dan was just an amazing guy, very stressed at the time. At that place, I remember it was the first time I met Richard in person. And I was so pleased to do that because when we talk about the dark times, during those times of doing those live streams, that was probably 18 months in the UK where I've got no money coming in whatsoever. But every week, consistently, I've been running this production, spending money to make my studio look good. One night after a show, a stranger, and there's none stranger than Richard, a stranger literally PayPal'd me some money from nowhere and just said, dude, this is for you, hope it helps. Thank you for everything you're doing for the stage hypnosis community. At that moment, he bought a friend for life. That man is an absolute legend. At that said conference, I remember there was a few stage hypnotists there, and I remember I was talking to Richard, and this guy comes over to me and starts talking to me about, he's got a talk on stage hypnosis, you know, and he's been doing it 30 years. And I remember at the time thinking, 30 years, and I'd not heard of this person, and I felt rude for that. That guy was an amazing guy as well. I went to his talk to support him, along with Richard, because Richard supports the stage hypnosis community amazingly. And we've gone there and we've watched his talk, and it's amazing. That guy was Michael Brody, who sat at the back there. Michael is an amazing guy. Michael's talking about his show, and I watched the video that he plays, and he goes into these characters when he does his routines. And the conversation's coming, it turns out that Michael's also a puppeteer. Yeah. And you can see it in his show. And both me and Richard at the same time have gone, have you ever thought about combining the two? Like having the world's first stage hypnosis puppet. And Michael's going, oh, I don't know if that'll work. And I've gone, if you don't do it, Michael, I'm going to do it. It's as simple. I'm not a puppeteer, but to be the world's first stage hypnosis puppet, I'm going to take that risk. Weeks later, Norbert, the Martian stage hypnotist, was born. And do you know what? For me, I love every time I see anything to do with that, I just feel amazing that Michael took that initiative, and to see where Michael is now since that conference is amazing. And I don't take a sense of pride from that. It wasn't me that did that. It was him that did that. But that's what's amazing about the community that we have here. It's not always about, I can sell you my products, I can sell you my stuff, buy my stuff. It's about what Richard's show. I think Richard's one of the best performers that's out there. He's absolutely amazing. I tell Richard this all the time, and he goes, I don't see it, because we don't see it within ourselves. How many times do we see clients that have got brilliance in them, but they don't see it within themselves? We can see it in other people, but our filters, our emotions, all of the stuff that we've gone through prevents us from seeing our own brilliance. So why don't we showcase that in other people when they see it? Me and Jeff were at Hypnothoughts a couple of years ago, and there was somebody that's come up with a new technique, and they've done their first talk on it. You know who I'm talking about? The other Brit. Yes. They'd done their first talk on this particular technique, and they were a bit nervous about it, etc., etc., etc. And both me and it's gone. Jeff. I learned something. He's such a close friend. I always panic because I can never say his last name. That's what it is. Both said to at the same time, if you've not turned this into a protocol and a training course and putting it out to the rest of the world by the next Hypnothoughts, then we're going to do it. Do you know what I mean? And it panicked her, because we said it, and we meant it in all honesty, but in the nicest possible way, because we knew that the fear of losing something makes people do something. And she's out there now, smashing it with that protocol. And that's the thing. There is brilliance, yes. There is brilliance in all of us, but we don't see it within ourselves. So when we're at places like this, at these conferences, have conversations with people that you wouldn't necessarily speak to. Because we do fall into our little cliques. You'll always find me and Jim sat together, because he's got soft hands. But these people, there is lots of brilliance in this room. But here's the thing. There's people in this room that could transform your life. Just like people in this room have transformed my life. But then there's people in here that you can transform theirs. And that's such a better feeling than any money that you could possibly find. So what I want you to do is look around the room now. Look around this room. And when I say looking around, if there's $100, look around this room to see if there's $1 million. Because there's someone in this room that's like that $100 bill that Jim says to look for. Look around with the same intensity that you would look around for $1,000, $1 million, or whatever it is. Because that person that can transform your life and take you to where you want to be is in this room. And imagine if you left here not knowing that you've either transformed their lives or given them the opportunity to transform your life. That's the important thing. The reason why we're doing this talk now and not at the end of the conference is because it's going to give you lot, how common does that sound? You lot. It gives each and every one of us the opportunity to make that connection. The person that you've not spoken to, you may have seen at other conferences, you may not have seen at other conferences. So to make that connection, find out who that person is, not just what they do, but who they are. And find out how can you help them live their life? How can you transform them and achieve their goals? And how can you collaborate together? Because the main theme of this talk, it's all about collaboration. It's all about us working together. As stage hypnotists, we were at the Heartland Conference, we came together, a group of us, and created the Performing Hypnosis Summit. It's an organisation to help educate and improve the quality of stage hypnosis, but more importantly, to have that community of stage hypnosis. And I'm proud to see there's some great members in here today. That's all about collaboration. It's not about how it's been in the past, about how can I make money from this. It's about how can I serve you. That's why I'm passionate about live streaming, because it transformed my life. That's why I'm passionate about hypnosis and hypnotherapists, because you all transform each other's lives every single day. But we have the opportunity for the rest of this conference to meet, to connect, and to collaborate on fun projects, as well as projects that are going to help you out financially. My name's been Grant Saunders. Thank you very much for listening to me waffle on for a little bit. And I'll hand you back over to Dan.
Thank you, Grant.
Thank you, Grant Saunders.